what's up, everybody, and welcome to a special Swass-Cast. And I say that all the time, that we have a Swass-Cast that's very special. But you know why this is extra special, Keith?
Why?
Because this is our spooky. This is going to be a spooky Swass-Cast, and we're in the room, the world famous room of Dave Keymont. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, thanks.
I call it Dave's killer room. His killer sanctuary, because as you can see behind us, we got a lot of cool, spooky stuff and collectible stuff. And why do I have that? Oh, and why do I have this?
Right.
Why do I have
Might
this?
be the scariest thing of all. You collecting the He-Man.
Yeah, and very, very provocative. Because I'm a huge He-Man fan.
Than me.
This guy has such a big collection, and I'm such a big He-Man fan that he actually had something I never saw before. Was a Wonder Bread giant-sized He-Man that can fight big robots.
Right.
For big robots. But today we're going to talk about our top 3 greatest classic monsters that we like. We'll also throw in some honorable mentions, but come on, classic monsters in general have been part of. Nobody loves it better. I mean, if I could have picked a Gleason monster, it would have been #1. But Keith owns the rights to that. He wouldn't let me do it. So anyways, first, I'm your host, John Cimino. We're with our super guest star, Dave Keymont, and
Keith Gleason.
Keith, the master, the genius behind this mess we got ourselves into, Keith Gleason. All right, so we're going to talk about our top 3 monsters. We'll start with number 3, and we'll start off with Dave with his number 3, and tell us why, and we'll talk about it.
All right, yeah, my number 3 actually kind of surprises me a little bit. When I started putting this list together, I thought it'd be higher, but he actually slipped to number 3, and I'll tell you why when we get to number 2.
Okay.
But for my number 3, I'm going to have to go with the Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Okay, we'll have to wait and talk about that. That's
All right.
on one of mine.
Okay.
Oh, boy.
All
Of course. Okay, so we can go into. We'll have a big discussion with that. So Keith, you're number 3.
My number 3, which I don't know if is on anyone's list, and it's kind of like a silly creature, but the Blob.
Oh.
Dude, I love the Blob.
Okay.
He was so close to making my top 3.
Was it?
I was like,
See,
yeah.
Nice.
I thought Keith was talking about Fred J. Duke's The Blob, the actual X-Men.
Should we sing the song?
But
Beware of the Blob. And creeps.
But it always
spare you
freaked me
guys,
out
you
as
know?
a kid, too, because just something about that monster, like, it would just eat.
It killed Doc Allen.
It seemed like the worst way to die.
now there was 2 movies of that, right?
Well, 3 if you count Son of the Blob.
Blob, yeah.
Okay, but when was the remake? There was a remake
one
in
in 87,
88,
with
Kevin Bacon.
Matt Dillon.
No, Matt Dillon. Yeah.
Brother.
I got a quick little story about the Blob. I watched it in the Cape here. I watched it, right? And me and a friend of mine and my brother, and then we all got a little freaked out by it, and we were scared. And the kid's name was Ben, and Ben goes, "Listen, guys, can I sleep over and stuff?" And we were like, "No."
This is the remake?
Yeah, the remake. And we were all so scared. And he goes, "Can I sleep over?" And we were like, No, you got to go home. You got to go home. He goes, "Well, just turn the lights on." Because, in the Cape, it gets so dark. There's no lights. And he lived only across the street. So anyways, so he's tiptoeing. We have the light on in the front light. And when he was halfway across the street, me and my brother shut off the light. And all you can hear is, "You God!" And he's running. Because he was freaked out. We were freaked out about the Blob. I'll never forget that.
And the thing about the remake, though, I think that's freaky, is they kill kids in that. You remember that?
Killed everybody.
Not offhand, but...
Yeah, they killed... There's the part with the kid in the raincoat. He comes up and his body's all decayed because, I think he got attacked in the theater. Remember that part in the remake?
I
You're
remember...
a fan of the remake?
I'm more a fan of the original.
Me too.
Are you picking the
original?
Because
I'm doing both.
I
I think it's a strong remake too.
And that kind of plays into what I was saying before, why I changed my top 2 and 3, because I didn't think I would, but I'm kind of taking into consideration like the legacy of these monsters.
Yeah, right.
How
Absolutely.
well they've held up.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, the Blob remake is great, but I really love the original.
Yeah, I like the
more.
original,
Yeah,
too.
I've
The
seen
first-
that way more times than I've
The
seen
first
the
thing I ever saw was the remake,
Yeah.
and I didn't know till years later that it was that. And so when I watched that, but I'll tell you, that remake when I was young, I mean, what was I, 11, 12? Scared
If I remember off the top of my head, it's written by Frank Darabont.
Really?
It's huge now.
Wow, I didn't know that.
with
Yeah,
Walking
The Mist,
Dead and
Walking
Mist.
Dead, yep.
Mist, which is unbelievable.
Yeah.
too.
Really?
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow. All right, my number 3, a little obscure, First time I ever saw it was in New Hampshire at Jellystone Park. Now, coming here, I noticed there was a Jellystone Park, and I was in the car here. I'm going, oh my God!
Yeah, we had
There's
to stop
another
him
one
from stealing picnic
Right.
baskets.
Boo boo. But it was those parks. You spend like 4 or 5 days there. You know, we were with cousins, and you sleep in these little trailers. But one night they had the you could sit there. They would have the big screen, the theater screen thing. Everybody's sitting on their lounge chairs and watching it. And it was the very first time I ever saw the Seventh Voyage of Sinbad. And when that Cyclops came out with the hooves, he had like he had the big club and the spike on his head. That Cyclops from that movie was it just burned in my head.
I feel kind of bad, dude. I actually just sold a toy of that like this week.
Oh, really?
It would have been here for you. If
my God!
You could have been holding that instead of He-Man.
I have the little. I need to hold my He-Man. I need to feel safe, and it's all this evil all around.
I know. Don't worry, I won't shut the lights off on you when you leave. I'll wait till you get to the car.
But I'll tell you, man, I loved that when they're walking and they're looking for the site. They're just looking for. They're trying to get back to that guy's castle, whatever, and they see the club with the spikes and all. And I was just like, oh my God! And then when one of the Cyclops dies against that dragon, I was so mad. But because always does Harry. What was it?
Harry.
Yeah. Well, every time I love how he always had the battles in there. But that was the first time I ever saw it. But that Cyclops from the Seventh Voyage of Sinbad was, I just freaking loved it.
Well, it makes me feel a little guilty because I have the utmost respect for Ray Harryhausen, and I've seen those movies and I enjoy them, but I tend to gravitate more towards like the gothic, the atmospheric, and those are more like adventure films. They have great creatures, great monsters, but they're not quite, like, I'm not as familiar with those as I probably should be.
I was always more of a, though now I have grown and I like the more gothic stuff today, but when I was a kid I loved the more the fantasy stuff.
Now, granted, I loved Clash of the Titans growing up.
That
I know.
That's what I grew up with, Harryhausen
but
stuff.
The earlier stuff from before I was born, like the 60s and 70s Harryhausen stuff, again, I've seen it, but I don't know it as well as I should.
Well, actually, that Some Voyage of Sinbad, that's 50s.
Is it really that early?
That's 50s, and that was, for me, that was unbelievable. And we talk about Clash of the Titans, that Medusa scene is still scary.
Oh, God.
Oh, my God. It's my poor daughter. I make her.
That sound, she makes a little rattle.
The remake, right here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And those arrows. Fantastic. But that, for me, that Cyclops. A little quick story. I was into Dungeons and Dragons too when I was a kid, and I couldn't believe it because I only had that Cyclops in my head, and there was no, there was no really. I don't think I remember even VCRs, or we didn't have one at that time. But
in the 8mm.
Yeah, or a Starcade. Remember Star TV? Star TV. But one time I was looking through those middle miniatures and I saw that Ray Harryhausen Cyclops, and I was like, oh my God, it was like a toy that I could actually play with. So anyways, for a few weeks I'm playing with this Cyclops thing, and I'll never forget, I left it on the floor, and then some girl across the street came over. I'm playing outside. I had all my other toys, but that little Cyclops there, because I loved it, because I couldn't believe there was a toy of this thing. And she came over and she's like, and she jumped. And I looked down, she stepped on the freaking Cyclops thing, and you know how they're pewter, whatever, the lead, and it's just like it smushed it. And I was, I never, till this day, I still never got it on that bitch. That bitch, I wish cancer on her. All right, Keith, that's my number 3, so my love for it. So Dave, give us your number 2.
So we're back to number 2, and this is the one that kind of surprised me when I thought about it, because it leapt over the creature from the Black Lagoon. I'm going to go with the Wolfman.
Oh, Wolfman's one of my...
Who's that actor?
It's one of my honorable
the original
mentions.
Wolfman, Lon Chaney.
Yeah, Lon Chaney.
His not only the Wolfman, but the Larry Talbot character is just so endearing. Everybody loves him. But when I was thinking about the Wolfman, I was thought, this is a character that really kind of has stood the test of time.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Now, granted, he didn't have as many sequels as, say, Frankenstein did or Dracula, because he only appeared...
He's remembered well, though.
There was the Wolfman, and then he appeared again in Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman, which is kind of like a combo. We got the mystery game up there.
Yeah,
and he appeared in House of Frankenstein, A House of Dracula. But there was a great werewolf movie in the 50s called The Werewolf, which I love because it actually it shows the effect of lycanthropy on the guy's family, which is kind of a weird thing to see in the 50s. You had all the Paul Naschy films in the 70s.
Right.
In the 80s, you had The Howling, American Werewolf in London.
There's Keith's favorite right there.
Awesome. And what really put it over the top for me is I love the recent remake that came out in 2010.
Yeah, I was going to ask you what you thought of that. I thought that was decent myself.
Yeah, I don't.
It didn't get a lot of like.
I didn't see it. I didn't
kind of
people. People didn't really talk about it. I thought it was great.
I just read last night, actually, that I guess they're going to be rebooting the series again, but going back to the original.
And my friend got the longer cut of it. Says it's even better because it feels a little more balanced, like a little more fleshed out. And
I was very pleasantly surprised by that.
And we're not talking about the Twilight werewolf, right?
No. I don't even know about that. And it's funny too because I don't know how you guys feel. Maybe we'll talk about this later, but as much as that film elevated the Wolfman, stuff like Twilight brings Dracula down for me.
Are you kidding me?
Same thing. You know what the last thing? I don't know if you know this. Do you know what the last thing they did for the Creature from the Black Lagoon? Did you see or hear about the musical? It was like a rock and roll musical they did in one of the parks, I think out in California, either 2010 or 2009. But let's not talk about that.
Yeah. But it does show you the legacy and the power of those things. Like I mean, they're just forever. Like like we were talking about the Wolfman. You know what I'll always love about the Wolfman? And a perfect portrayal of all of them. Come on, Abbott and Costello meets those meets Frankenstein. Yeah. I mean, sure, I would have loved it if Boris Karloff was Frankenstein in that, but the Wolfman in that, and even you got what's his name, the Dracula,
Bela
Lugosi, being. I mean, those are. If you watch,
and that maybe plays into it too because
fantastic, dude.
You talk about like not having Karloff in there, but maybe that part plays into it too with the Wolfman because it was always Lon Chaney Jr. who played the Wolfman.
Absolutely,
there was never somebody else to come in and kind of sully the role or not do as well.
And as timeless as Bela Lugosi is as Dracula, he only played in the first one and that one as Dracula. Right. And you think of him as Dracula.
I think of Christopher Lee as Dracula.
Yeah, Christopher Lee's awesome.
Hey, sorry. I'm quite sure there are plenty of people out there who agree with me.
Yeah, I'm sure, but I'm always like I got to go for the real thing. And
besides, Christopher Lee's still around to get mad at me if I say he's not the best Dracula. The guy's like pushing 90 or whatever. I'm still a little afraid of him.
It's true,
but he's a metal singer now. But no, that's off.
All right, so that's number two.
Yeah.
All right, Keith, you're number two.
My number two, I got to go with Harryhausen myself, and it's funny because this movie. I don't really remember much else about the movie but the monster part, and it's like, and that always stuck with me, but I have to go with Talos from Jason and the Argonauts. You know which one I'm talking about? I mean, how great is the part where they're standing there and the statue just turns and looks at them, and then oh my god,
and awesome. The way Ray animated him too, like he gave him that metal,
the sound and everything,
unbelievable.
And
now I have
sword. when he just kills the ship.
Oh my god! And even I don't even think now CGI could even come close to that today. Even because when I was a kid and I watched that too, I loved big things like the Shoguns, like the big. That's why I'm holding He-Man. He's so big. But like that Talos when I saw it, it's like when I saw that Cyclops. It was just like, and even the other one when the Cyclops is the horse and that the other one the second I don't know, but I just. The monsters were so big and so like almost like brutish too. It was just like
he's dispatched a little too easy, like most Ray Harryhausen monsters.
But I mean, but when you're a kid watching that, like, you were like, "Oh my god!" I love Talos, and like that was like the shit, And I never got those till like when I saw those on DVD years later. I remember even seeing them on VHS.
Remember when we were at?
It's like I can watch these movies again.
Remember when we were at Barnes and Noble that one time? We were just looking through the Harryhausen.
I never could find it again.
Never. It's
online, but it's so expensive now. But it was like just all his the making of the model, his legacy basically, and it was just. Love it.
There was one Harryhausen monster that really kind of stood out to me from those movies. I don't know if I should mention. I don't want to steal it if anybody else has it.
Go ahead.
You remember the Minotaur?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just remember him like
He was dispatched so easy too. The poor guy was just moving that ship.
something about that whole scene freaked me out when I was a kid. Just
Yeah.
I don't know why, but he was the one who really stuck with me more.
What
than
freaked
any
me
of the
out was
others.
when that princess was like. Remember, she was becoming part bird, and then you could see like one of her feet was like this, like this beak thing. I don't know. It was just like, yeah. It was like that freaked me out as a kid. Even today, when you look at that, it's like the Medusa thing. It's like it may not be that scary, but it scared you as a kid, so you still. It's like the Elephant Man for me. Oh my God, I can't. I
Did that
can't.
make you?
No, we
It's a
can't. I'm not even going to
honorable
rank them on a list because it scares me too much. But like, yeah, I know what you're talking about. That
Yeah.
that was awesome.
clever.
Okay, so you're. Oh no,
No,
You're on your number 2.
Number 2. Okay, now I know this is once again on another list that you got, and we'll talk about it.
We
at
might
the
as well
end.
talk about it now because his number 1's going to
Would be
be
up
there.
next.
Oh, okay. So why don't you say your number 1?
Well, to me, this should be obvious. So it's Frankenstein.
Oh.
You know? It's the monster. It's like the king of the monsters. You know, no, all due respect to Godzilla.
Oh, it kills Godzilla. It kills him. But I'm gonna go a little step further. Mine is Boris Karloff Frankenstein.
There
I
you
mean,
go. Yeah.
the other guys were okay, whatever, but this is the definitive.
Right.
And when you see Frankenstein, it's Boris Karloff with the
Right.
one sunken cheek. It's from and especially from the first. I know they were saying like in the second Frankenstein, the
Bride of Frankenstein.
Bride of Frankenstein, that he gained a little bit of weight because he was eating better and all that stuff, and it took away, they said, from a little bit of the actual look of the first one because he was a lot skinnier. And it made his face more sunken. Not that he looked bad by any
Right.
means, but they wish he still had the look of the very first one. Which,
Yeah.
but go ahead, talk about
Well, that brings up an
Frankenstein.
interesting point. I never really thought about that. Does Frankenstein eat?
Yeah.
You know, like could he have gained weight between the first and second movies? He's alive now.
What
You
did
would
he
think
eat? Did he
you
eat?
know.
Well, he did. Good food, good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I never
Wine,
really thought about
good.
it. So yeah,
Drink.
So it's structurally consistent. He gained weight, you know. But
Did you care that he? All right, Karloff did not like that he talked. He realized years later that his daughter. They all said that he was wrong.
well,
and
I don't mind that because he talked in the book. Originally, he was very verbose. He would, go on these long rants and whatnot.
Well, he
The
became
problem-
very smart in the book.
Exactly, yeah. But my problem with that is that he talked and then he stopped talking again. It's like
Well, because
consistency is an important thing,
right,
you know?
right.
Yeah.
So,
Well, he was in that dead state. That remember the third one?
Yeah.
Like when he doesn't speak anymore. But right, he doesn't speak in the third one, does
I
he?
don't believe he does. No.
No, but he was in that dead state, and remember
Yeah.
he wanted the Dr. Frankenstein's son to help him. But I mean, like, wasn't he more brain dead? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm protecting Frankenstein.
Exactly. At
And
that
it's
point,
Boris
it's
Karloff,
like-
I'm going to protect him.
Yeah, you're kind of going back and you're looking for excuses, almost like Star Wars fans do, you know? I know, sorry about that.
But
I
yes.
can't believe I just compared.
Yeah,
But,
but Frankenstein, I mean, you think of the primitive, like even technology back then, and who was the makeup artist that
Jack Pierce.
Yeah, I heard he was a prick too in real life, but
I don't know about that, but, you know.
but
I'm not saying it's not true. I
I
sincerely
just talked to
don't
him
know,
yesterday
you know?
in the spirits. He was like, he didn't want me to talk to him. I was bothered.
Leave me alone.
I was bothered.
But he, I mean,
Yeah.
the shit that he did for the black and white too,
Right.
man.
Yeah, and it's funny when I was thinking about it, I was trying to come up with like all these reasons why he should be the best, and the only reason I could come up with is like he's fucking Frankenstein, you know,
Yeah.
like
And you think about it, like
Yeah.
he's body parts. He's dead.
yeah.
Living. What is the famous line that?
Was it like hate living, love dead?
Yeah,
that
one
one?
dead,
Yeah.
good, food,
Yeah.
good. It's like Keith at the friggin' buffet. Wow, right. But I loved him even in the third one, Boris Karloff's third one. That
Yeah.
like he was in that suit, that furry.
Yeah.
Friggin' remember that thing?
Didn't you
Right.
tell me that you lost a little respect for Stanley?
Oh yeah, I did. I don't even want to say that. Yeah, okay. When I
Lost a
watched,
tiny
when Hulk and Captain Marvel, but I mean Stan Lee is a god to me. He's literally, there's Jesus, and then there's Stan Lee is above Jesus.
Well, where does Kirby come in? I thought Kirby was
Yeah.
Jesus and
See,
Kirby, then Stanley.
Maybe Kirby's. Well, you can't. The Marvel is based on no matter how much I love both of them, it's based on both of them.
When you do your top 3 God shows, you'll sort it all out. You know?
Yeah, but I'll tell you, I lost a little respect, and maybe that's why Kirby's got to go before Stan Lee. Is because when I watched it, And I watched him when I was young. You forget about him. Then I got back into him literally last year. I really got back into getting all the movies and all that stuff. But I noticed how much Stanley freaking stole. And I mean, I know people steal things, but the names, Igor is the name of the Russian that is getting rid of friggin' trying the spy. He's the Russian spy that's trying to get the secret formula for Bruce Banner. I was like, there's so many similarities. And when you're watching that, all the townspeople chasing Frankenstein and all that stuff, and it's just oh my god. And it's even Kirby's drawing was freaking Frankenstein. Right. I know he was gray in the first one, but I mean, I did lose a little respect because I was like, and you know what? That first friggin' movie, especially the first one, I love Bride of Frankenstein too, but me is the first one for my favorite. I know Bride of Frankenstein is more critically acclaimed.
Everybody loves Bride of Frankenstein, but you know what? I'm not a fan of Una O'Connor. She ruins it for me. Yeah, okay. She's the screeching, maid or whatever. Yeah, I can't stand her. So,
but when you watch that first one, they call it the Jaws of its time.
Yeah,
and it's it's a little scary, the whole thing, and it's just weird, and it's just I can understand. I love to put myself in the seat of somebody that was there at the time watching that in the movie theaters. They must have been what?
Well, you talk about them killing a child in the Blob. They killed him in Frankenstein, 1931. He killed that little.
And they edited that out though too. But when you write, did they
edit that scene out? I know they edited out the blasphemous line or whatever.
Yeah,
I know what it's like to be God.
But now those are all in the movies, and you see how tamed it was. But it just shows you how they pushed the envelope at that time. It's just
you weren't bound by that kind of stuff.
No, because then we started killing each other and all that. And that's when those disclaimers started been on it. It's the 30s. Who cared? Who cared who killed each other? Yeah. Okay, Keith, go with your...
my number one, Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Now you guys can talk about that one.
That one, when I was a kid, out of all the Universal monsters, I don't know, I gravitated towards that one. For some reason.
Was it the 3D?
It's I wish I was at a convention. I was Fangoria or Chiller, one of them, and they were re-showing it in 3D. Yeah. But I couldn't stay and watch it, but I watched a little bit of it, and I was just like, this is awesome. I didn't have the glasses, but I was just watching the blurry screen, and I thought it was great.
I actually went to see it out in Boston at the Bridal last year, I think, in 3D.
Did you? They had it in 3D?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I wish I knew about that.
I think that 3D, isn't that the one supposed to be, rear projected, and I think they only had, forward projected. It looked okay, so it wasn't great.
Yeah.
But it was still, it's anytime you get a chance to see it.
Now, you have that bottle in your collection of, it's the water.
Yeah, that's cool as hell. I like that.
Now, what I would like, where is the place, the actual lake, the lagoon?
It's in Wakulla Springs, Florida, which is, I don't know, maybe 20 or 30 minutes south of Tallahassee.
Okay, so I'm going to say, Keith, when we go down there, I'm going to make Keith drink the water. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. Let's see, because he's a creature, but maybe he can be a creature from the Black Lagoon now,
Well, it's funny. I remember years ago
the
seeing...
design of the creature, everything about it, I think is just cool.
It is a classic suit, and it's a very popular character, and that's why I was really surprised when I sat and thought about it, and I was like, I can't believe I'm going to bump him, but... Yeah, I feel like I have to.
But it's bumping two unbelievable things. It's which one means more to you, you know? So it's
See, I was never as crazy about the Creature from the Black. I watched it and all that stuff, but it was Frank. I always liked the more of the brutish type, like a Frankenstein or a Wolfman. I was more when I was a kid because I was so obsessed with the Hulk and always the strong things and. Frankenstein fighting the Wolfman, that would just blew my mind. That's why I loved King Kong. I hated Godzilla. I hated lizard type things, and that's why the Creature from the Black Lagoon. I watched it. It was okay for me and all that stuff, but man, I'll tell you that it didn't. Yeah, the Frankenstein transcended that. But I when I seeing it now, I like it. I understand, but it was never one of my favorites because he was scaly.
One of the things that I will say about it, and that really speaks to me, is I watch a lot of horror films, classic monsters, new, whatever. A lot of it doesn't really scare me, but for some reason I do have a little bit of a phobia about underwater monsters.
Yeah,
because if there's one place on Earth where we don't really know what's down there, it's under the water.
There's still a mystery there.
Yeah,
so I think that's with me too. It's he's such an odd-looking creature that...
Keith, if you go in the water, you sink right to the bottom. I mean, I'd be scared, too. Okay, my number one. Now, this is a little different, but I'm going to admit, I was always intrigued by these characters, and the longevity of these characters are just as strong as anything else. You ready? Boo Berry Frankenberry, Count Chocula, Fruit Brute, and then we go to Yummy and Mummy. Sure, Yummy Mummy was the later guy in the original 3. I mean, that's the Avengers right there. I don't care. That was the greatest cereal. I was so enthralled by those characters. And you know, boxes from the 70s can sell for like $15,000 seal. I mean,
I knew you were going to say like a high number. I didn't think you were going to say that.
That much. It's but that just shows you the people like their love for that stuff. And then when I found out that, like, okay, one time when I was touring, you know, I thought they stopped it in our part of the country. You know, they don't make those series. They only make them seasonal now. Find them in Targets. But for years, 10, 15 years, you never would see them. And then when I would tour in my band, I remember we were like in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of rural America, and we go into some stupid shop. I'm like, oh, there's a Frankenberry here, and I never knew those. I mean, come on, I don't like those the Southerners. I'm a Yankee. I don't like those Southerners. But they could pick this. So I was like in a freaking. They had deer. No, it was like Piggly? Piggly. It was like in this. I must have been down in like near Louisiana or something, but I remember they had deer heads in, like, I'm gonna get my milk and I'm gonna see like deer heads. But I walked in there and they had like the little store.
The milk and the cow they got it from.
Oh my god!
Yeah, right next.
You want to get the milk? Here's like a jug, and then you have to go in the back.
Pail over to your table.
But I looked over and I saw freaking Frankenberry, and I was like. It was like I was in shock because not that I just didn't love the cereal, and I could eat any one of them all the time, but it was the fact that like they were still around, and I love those characters. I loved those commercials.
And they've made a comeback again.
Those things are still so famous. It's creature lovers that love that, and they're like, and if you can get, oh my god, I would eat like well, I think they came out in '74. Did
you ever mix the 3 of them?
Never. You got to eat one. You got to, and see, it ruined later on when there used to be those just the circles with like they look like little He-Man shields. You remember that? and then the marshmallows were just the regular small marshmallows. And then they made them bat marshmallows 20 years later. But then when they threw the white marshmallows in there, it always kind of it just didn't fit. I love the plain, but I'll tell you, those characters, they're ingrained. If there was a cartoon, and I don't know why they never made a cartoon or a comic book that had. I mean, when you go into
there was a CD that came out like a year or two ago that I think it had like spooky stories. And it was like narrated by those characters.
Yeah,
but I don't know. Any other
that's kind of true. They never did anything.
Yeah, and even like
the commercials were great. You know, the animated commercials,
and they could be geared for kids even too, because you could make them bumbly, stumbly type characters and all that. But like. Oh my god!
Maybe they figured the Groovy Ghoulies already had the market corner.
Yeah, but they weren't General Mills. General Mills presents. How good? Like, you know, Power Records presents. General Mills presents. Okay, right now, if you had to pick one of those cereals, which one would you go?
I gotta go with Count Chocula.
Count Chocula. Keith?
Boo Berry.
When I was young, I was pro Frankenberry. Then I became Boo Berry, and now I have a little tinge of Count Chocula. Yummy Mummy never lived out.
I never tried. I never tried Yummy,
but I had Yummy Mummy.
Yeah, I never tried Yummy Mummy or Fruit Brute.
But Fruit Brute was
one thing that I don't have in my collection. I would love to have. Do you remember the premiums that used to get? I think they were called Spooky Speedsters.
They go
little racing cars. Yeah,
but even those premiums that come from like the spooky cereals, like there's so much money. And if you get like those Star Wars boxes, that they like. They go for thousands, and I'm like, are you kidding me? But it just shows you there's a love out there more than just me for those marshmallows. How good you like that? General Mills presents. All right, you got some honorable mentions going on here because I know you had a good list.
Yeah, my honorable mention would have been the Blob because I absolutely love the Blob. But
scary stuff.
Off the top of my head, I love King Kong.
No,
come on. I mean, he didn't make the list because at the end of the day, he's still just a giant gorilla.
Yeah, and he died. I was devastated.
Yeah,
and in King Kong Lives, remember the second one, the one that came out in the '80s? Like,
oh no, I don't think I saw that one.
Cried like a baby.
but I think the original King Kong, like, it may well be the greatest movie ever. It's got like everything you'd want: monsters and dinosaurs and fights and jungle adventure and romance and
beast a lot of sexual tension going on there. Man, going for the woman. And okay, here's something about King Kong. Were you happy that King Kong kicked the crap out of Godzilla, or did that piss you off? I'm just gonna before you answer. I'm gonna say happy.
Yeah, I would have been pulling.
I hated Godzilla.
I never hated Godzilla.
I did.
But yeah, I think I don't know. There's just something about King Kong where he's just a little more lovable. Godzilla was always back and forth. He was like a wrestler, good guy, bad guy, good guy, bad guy. You know?
And sometimes he was evil, and sometimes he was good.
King Kong was pretty much always, even though it was always the heroes fighting him. You always loved King Kong.
Yeah.
You know? He was never.
And when he got burnt,
he was never the villain. You know. So.
Yeah, I agree.
I loved when King Kong rose up when I was a kid. I was like, yes! Now, is there a Japanese version of that, and then Godzilla comes up? Well, I heard there's always been rumors, and I don't know because I'm not a big. But they said that I heard this could be just a rumor, but I always heard through the grapevine, even when I was young, that there was a Japanese version where Godzilla comes back up and goes off.
I honestly don't know. I don't remember.
Now, did King Kong win because? Was that because an American thing or what?
Yeah, maybe that's it. If I have no idea.
I hope. So.
I barely remember that. I remember not liking it. You know.
What? Because.
No, I just remember not liking the movie. I didn't really care.
Do you like the Jackson one? I like the Jackson one a lot.
No, I didn't like it.
No, not at all.
Yeah, no.
I was a big.
It made him like a kind of pretty badass in that. I thought when he fights the 3 T-Rexes one-handed.
Yeah, I don't know.
Was that the newer one? That I never saw it.
I think I was on the fence on that, and then I fell into the negative thoughts about it when he started like on the ice skating.
Oh yeah,
I never.
I see. I like that. I thought that was just a great scene before the utter
to me,
chaos.
it's like the zombies on the hockey rink in Dawn of the Dead. It's like I love everything else about it, but
yeah, you don't like that.
Yeah, you're not playing hockey. I love hockey. I love zombies. The two don't mix. You know?
Yeah.
What about you, Keith? Some honorable mentions?
Oh, I mean everything you guys mentioned: Frankenstein, Dracula. Wolfman. I knew that was going to be on a bunch of lists.
Now, did you see those classic monsters on Channel 38?
Yeah, of course. Of course.
And what was that one? Okay,
creature feature.
What was that creature movie that there was a gorilla? Once again, a knockoff of King Kong, of course.
Mighty Joe Young?
No. Which I liked Mighty Joe Young. I thought that was great.
I had Conga on 8mm when I was a kid. That was terrible. I watched it again as an adult. No, just Conga.
Conga.
Awful.
But what was that creature? Like, it was a gorilla that got lost, got escaped in a carnival. And I remember he falls off, and it was in 3D. Because I remember at Stop and Shop, I would go there. I was so young, and you could don't forget to watch on Channel 38 tonight.
Yeah, the glasses.
There were the glasses to watch this gorilla movie, and the big scene, like you got it. The big scene was when at the end he's on top of the roller coaster, and they shoot him off, and then he falls right to the screen, and I was like, oh, this is a jip. You don't remember that?
That might have been Conga. I don't remember.
Oh, God, I hope not. But I just remember.
I remember that scene, and now I'm trying to remember if I'm putting it in the movie.
But it was
or
a
if it was actually in the movie. Yeah.
Keith, you're gonna have to look that up. It's just some weird carnival
thing that
gorilla movie that.
Yeah.
I always loved gorillas because once again it was a hulkish, brutish. I always loved like the creature double feature. What's the ones the gargantuans? Oh, I love those. Like the furry one. And then the evil water one who was a little bit strong, and they're all battling. And then obviously that Japanese Frankenstein conquers the world. That freaked me out, but I loved it. I always loved the brutish type things, the Frankenstein hulkish type stuff. You know,
yeah.
I like hulking thing, man, monster.
Yes.
Any more?
No, there's tons. I could sit here everything Harryhausen did.
Yeah.
I mean, I have respect for all that, but the ones I picked, I was just like, these ones.
Oh, the Kraken! Throw the Kraken out there! Oh my God! Unbelievable!
I loved Phantom of the Opera as a kid. I still love that movie. I think it's actually being re-released soon. Too.
Unbelievable! He shoved the things in his nose and fantastic. And no true.
The Hunchback of Notre Dame.
No, but in the other one, the first, still scary to this day. That vampire, the very first man.
London After Midnight?
No, Nosferatu.
Yeah.
That was
that's
freaky too.
I actually saw that in the theater with live music, like they used to do. I mean, but it was like modern music.
Because that's a silent one, right?
Yeah. It was so impressive. It was very good.
Very, and I'm sure even being a silent movie now, you put yourself in the right atmosphere. You know, you shut up lights, maybe some candles. Still can scare some little kids. Let's do it a brain.
It's a shame that most people won't even take the time to try to do that. You know.
Yeah.
Unless they're real cinema buffs.
All right, so hey, send us your favorite creatures if you like what you like. Yep, this is a Wonder Bread He-Man giant size. It's here. But tell us what your favorite. Jabba the Hutt was never mentioned, right? Mermaid, yeah. But send us your favorite. Then, why don't you send us out here? Give me a...
How good?
So good.